My name is T. James Reagan, and I'm about to read a book to you. It's called Beach House Burning. It should be free this weekend, unless you're watching this at a time that this weekend is not this current weekend. It was just Memorial Day, so this weekend might be June. But the point of this is that this book takes place throughout an entire summer. So if you start it now, then you'll sort of be traveling through the summer with everyone in the book. And the people in the book are a friend group who have reunited 15 years after high school. And now that they're back together, they sort of comparing their lives, and they realize, like, everyone pretty much realizes their life didn't turn out how they wanted to, except for one guy in the friend group who's a Spotify famous musician. He's like a country music guy, and he has a beach house, and so he invites everyone to go to the beach house for their summer. And so they all decide they're going to go to the beach house for the summer. They're going to figure out their lives, and if by the end of the summer they don't figure out their lives, then they're probably just screwed for the rest of their life. So it's like the most important summer of their life since they were in high school. And this book is going to be free. You'll be asking, like, Tommy, if you wrote this book, then why do you not have a physical copy of it? And that is because all of my books are Jengaed in such a way in my apartment, like that you can see what my apartment looks like there. Like, that's not a big apartment, not a nice apartment, and I also compulsively physically collect things. So everything is Jengaed in such a way that if I was to remove Beach House Burning from the Jenga, it would cause a Twin Towers collapse. And like, now I have to go through like every actual real book, like, oh, sorry, brothers Karamazov, I'm just gonna, move you out of the way so I can get to my mediocre post-Empire literature. And so I'm going to read to you from this book, and then you can either get it for free, or if you watch this later on, then you can get it for $3, where, like, you know how everyone's always like, oh, it's like a price of a cup of coffee. But like, my novels are so cheap, and coffee has gone up in price so much. Like, everyone's always like, why is it $9 cold brew? So like, you can get like 3 of my books for the price of a cold brew. So, if you're like on the fence about it, then just imagine a third of a cold brew. That's what my book costs there. All right, I'm gonna stop talking and I'm gonna read to you. This is 27%. I don't know. The book is like 500 pages. I make the margins like really small because people are just like, everyone like, ew, 500 pages long. I'm just gonna go get 1/3 of a cold brew instead. Like, they don't want more book for their money. They're like, I actually just want this book to be like 42 pages so that I can be like, oh, I read a beach book this weekend. They don't want the 500-page book where it's like, great, an entire summer, I'm gonna follow these people, I guess. So they're already at the beach house, and a new person has arrived, and it begins. Izzy is behind the curtain at the left side of the window, and I'm behind the curtain to the right. We're both looking out the driveway to the driveway below as Meg sits in the front seat of her Acura. The car is just far enough up the driveway that I can watch Meg as she wipes her eyes with stained tissues, which also litter her dashboard. But I can't tell if she's crying or fixing her makeup. The location of her parked car indicates to me that it's the former. The optimism I initially felt regarding this arrival is quickly dashed when I hear the front door slam. The fact this loud exit could be Josephine cutting Meg off at the pass makes me run from my room, down the hall, down the stairs, then out the front door. I come tearing around the side of the house to see that Meg is still blotting her eyes, sitting in her car, but now Josephine is standing at the driver's side door. The nearer I get, the better I understand that Josephine's ambush has been ambushed by Meg's overt sadness. This is the closest the girls have come to being on the same page in decades. Josephine notices my approach, so she stands up straight, and Meg doesn't have an angle to see her expression, which consists of her lips pulled back, her teeth gritted, her head shaking no to my wordless question. Is she okay? The expression seems to indicate that my presence will not only complicate matters. And I'm about to go wrap myself back up in the curtain when the driver's side door of the Acura opens right into right into Josephine's stomach. Josephine hops away, and Meg exits the car, then makes her way toward the hood, where she sits. Then I swear she looks up to my window and smiles at the girl in the curtains. Meg is wearing black yoga pants that have gray triangles on either side of her calves, and she's paired that with a boy's Star Wars t-shirt that features a white helmet guy holding a laser gun. Instead of whatever war Josephine planned on waging, she pivots to a temporary truce, understanding that the entire point of the last conversation she had with Meg was, fuck your own problems. We need to be there for people who are having a tough time, and God bless her, that's what she does. Josephine leans over and arches her body so that the only part connecting the two girls are their arms and their collarbones. You are the worst hugger I've ever put my arms around, Meg notes, maybe just to restore the equilibrium of their dynamic. Josephine lets go and admits, sorry, my instinct is to slink away, to push you away. She looks Meg over, then admits, almost as a non sequitur, and I think I'm putting on weight? It's okay, you look cute, Meg says. Josephine's eyes go wide and she admits, that's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me because I know that you're incapable of lying to make someone feel better. It's not true. I've repeatedly lied to men about my general whereabouts and about whether or not I'm going through their phone while they're in the shower, Meg responds. Did you lie to anyone about coming here? Josephine asks. Sure did, Meg responds. Meg, I say, my voice weirdly hollow. Meg turns to me, then gets off the hood of the Acura. When she reaches me, I give her the hug that Josephine couldn't. She feels warm and her hair smells good. The moment I let Meg go, I look up to the window and I see Izzy standing there, not wrapped in the curtain, not hiding. Let me help you with your bags, I say. And the second after I do, I realize the only unoccupied room we have is across from Levi. And to reach that room, Meg will regularly have to pass Josephine's room. I understand the complications this will cause, but it's also clear to me, based on how things went in high school, as well as how I've seen in the dawning days of summer, Josephine still loves Jeffrey. Maybe even just as much as before. Because he's been so depleted by life, almost to the same degree that she has. Let's get you moved in, I say, walking to the back of the Acura. When Meg pops the trunk, I wince because compared to what Josephine brought, Meg's baggage seems so spare. The surprise I have regarding her minimalist packing style carries with it hurt. I want to see bags and suitcases and frivolous shit like a tennis racket. I wanted a clear indication regarding the length of Meg's stay by the baggage she's brought here. The one thing giving me a sliver of optimism is that when she told us a story of the body in the suitcase, she pointed out she's always overstuffing her bags. So maybe when I unzip this duffel bag, it'll burst with clothes. Disappointingly, I'm able to carry both of Meg's bags, while she carries her purse and a little mirrored box which most likely contains her makeup. Once we're inside the garage, Josephine gets a door for us. As we step inside the house, I'm flushed with anxiety concerning how everything appears to Meg, how it smells, and if her sheets will be clean in the room. In a proactive moment that softens the decision I made, it's Josephine who leads us down the hall. She passes her room, noting, I'm here, then continues towards the vacancy across from Levi. Maybe Josephine is making this choice for Meg because she wants the ability to mirror Meg's comings and goings, and if not learn from her, then to sabotage her nights. We've been saving this room for you, but I started to worry you might not come, I admit. I'm late, and this is the only room, Meg responds, nailing the truth, while undermining the whole chosen child room adoption technique I was trying to swing. We can trade, Josephine offers. When an enthusiasm betrays this gesture, Meg doesn't respond and merely walks into the room I arch my neck toward. Oh no. Do I have a roommate? Meg nearly gasps, staring at the two beds. Nope, Just you, I assure her. And I swear she pouts for a moment, like she needs someone here, and the frustration was merely an act. I set down her bags and watch from the side of the room. Who do you usually have staying here that double beds are necessary? She asks. It's a beach house. So we house people who want to go to the beach, I respond. Right, but it's almost like a rental property or something. Well, it's not, I say, desperate for Levi to step into the room and explain everything with his easy charm that can disarm even Meg. All right, so, is there something you guys do here every year then? Meg asks. No. This is the first time we've done it, I say. Meg sets her purse on her makeup box in the bed closest to the door, and I'm about to leave, but she keeps me in the room by saying, Hey, Jones. I turn to her, and after a pregnant pause, she admits, I needed this. It's good to have you here, I tell her. She glances down at her makeup box and catches her reflection, then says, under her breath, Hey, look how I feel. And Josephine quickly adds, I wish I felt how you look. The two girls seem to be continuing their truce, so I take this moment to excuse myself by saying, My room is upstairs. If you need anything, yell loud. She nods at this, then locates her gratitude. Thanks, Jones. Josephine seems hungry for a similar gratitude and adds, Remember, I'm just down the hall. Thanks, Joe, Meg says, her voice sounding even more nasal from all the crying in the Acura. Just in case Meg has more crying to do, Josephine and I leave the room, walking shoulder to shoulder down the hall, and when Josephine makes her right to her room, I realize that I need to check with Izzy to see if she's going to accept Meg's arrival like Josephine did. The only uncertainty I have regarding Levi's reaction is if he'll immediately demand that we have a party, or if he'll just call his driver, Derek, to deliver us all the stuff from the trailer so we can have a beach concert. I think about Jeffrey's question he asked while out on the deck after we took those Kentucky Blue shots, and it's created a curiosity regarding what made Levi pick up the banjo in the first place. I understand that we might be back in the studio tonight. I leave Izzy to sit on the counter and watch the food while I collect everything for dinner. Since we're already running out of options for full-on meals, I decide on penne alla vodka with some frozen veggies that hopefully survive the freezer burn. As I go door to door, Jeffrey isn't in his room and Levi isn't in his room, so I stop by Meg's room, expecting to find both of them there, but instead I see that Meg is alone, sitting on the edge of her bed, scrolling through her phone. Sorry, the service here sucks, I say, and she looks up at me concerned. Oh no, she yips, and I don't know what I've said that would earn this response, so I remain silent until she explains. It's always foreshadowing for a bunch of people getting murdered. The establishing of no cell phone service is an assurance that there are poltergeists who will come to redecorate your room, and strangers will break in and terrorize you, and then these malevolent forces will operate unabated. There's a cordless phone on your nightstand, I point out. Yeah, and the last time I saw someone use a cordless phone, they were being asked if they like scary movies, Meg responds, glancing at the cream-colored phone like it's a message written in blood. Come on, I'll show you the rest of the house and we can check the closets to make sure there are no slashers. Then I'll have a dinner plate waiting for you upstairs. Meg gets up from the bed, checks her reflection in the mirror above her dresser, then sighs. It reminds me, slashers wouldn't have to hide here. It's their own friends who are doing the slashing and scream. Their own mentally unstable friends. We can make a pact too, I start to say, stepping out into the hallway, but she interrupts me. Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard had a pact. That's legit how it started, Jones. All of this is very murdery. I guess you'll just have to trust me, I say as we make our way down the hall. It's okay, I'll be fine. Every first date a woman has, she makes that leap, Meg says. When I reach the end of the hall, I do a ladies first politeness move, which allows me to stare at Meg's ass in yoga pants as she climbs the stairs. running her hand along the bare wall as she passes the second floor, then continues climbing. The tour I offered gets jettisoned for a meal together with everyone, and I'm not sure if Meg lacks the curiosity regarding the rest of the house or if she's just waiting for someone else to do the tour. When we reach the third floor, Meg coos out a pleasure-filled noise that seems to increase the temperature of my blood, and I can hear my pulse in my ears. "Jones, this is great. This is great," she says, her mood swinging rapidly as she holds on to the chair at the head of the dining room table. I walk past her, then slide open the door out to the deck, then ask, "Want to check out the ocean?" Meg turns away from the open door and says, "Relax, Jones. You'll see me in a bikini soon enough." "I meant, like, out on the deck," I say, hearing steps on the stairs that I'm both thankful for and also fearful for. I don't want whoever this is to get the vibe that I'm already being creepy with Meg, as though I'm the perviest bellhop ever. Meg drifts in the kitchen, and I decide to give her a minute to speak with Izzy, who hasn't moved from the counter. In my best effort to give them privacy, I step out onto the deck, then collect a couple empty old milk cans that blew off the table. When I step back inside, I see Levi is standing at the top of the stairs, and his presence is a relief, for beyond the fact that he's holding a 30-pack. Levi steps forward, then drops the case of Old Mill on the center of the dining room table, and this causes the plates to clatter. Meg pops out of the kitchen, and the cabinets must have obstructed her vision of Levi's arrival because, by her expression alone, I can tell she didn't expect Levi to be the one who caused the noise. Levi seems equally surprised by Meg's presence. So a moment hangs between them, and it's magnetic. I can't turn away. "Oh, hi there," Meg finally says, and I begin to suspect as though she might be the one. And I begin to suspect she thought she might be facing someone in a scream mask. Levi looks dumbfounded, but he points at the case and says, "I got a spear." "I got here a couple hours ago," Meg mentions. Levi nods at this, each nod becoming more exaggerated. Then he declares, "Now summer has begun," as evidenced by the ice cream truck that you can hear passing by here. "Is it okay if I stay?" Meg asks. "Absolutely," Levi responds. Then he pops open the cardboard flap and grabs two of the beers from the case. He tosses one of them to me, which I surprisingly catch, leading me to genuinely believe that I could play in the NFL if Old Mill got a sponsorship deal and all the footballs carried their logo. Not for nothing, but if I had a house this nice, I certainly wouldn't invite a bunch of sad maniacs to spend the summer with me, and I especially wouldn't let them get drunk as sad maniacs, Meg declares, uninviting herself while making herself at home, taking the beer from Levi. "Well, I guess it's good you ain't me," Levi says, then grabs his beer and cracks it. Despite the fact I know they can smell dinner, no one sits at the table, we all remain standing. Maybe we're just waiting for Jeffrey, and this is a version of politeness we're all just extending in order to have some consideration to our fellow housemate. Meg runs her finger along the aluminum edge of her Old Mill, then in a quiet voice she asks, "Why the hell would you complicate your vacation like this?" I want this beach house to be my Eden," Levi says. But there's one fundamental flaw with Eden, and that's that we're a group of apple pickers. So I thought, what if I couldn't get kicked out of the garden for eating an apple? "I mean, you're just changing what the apple is," Meg responds. "Oh yeah?" Levi asks, sipping his beer. "Yeah," Meg says. Then with a twitch I've never seen before, it jitters across Levi's face. He tries to smile, then says, "Plus you gotta factor in that Kurt and I are pack animals." No offense to Kurt, but he seems like a guy who suggests it's time to start eating the rest of the traveling party when food is scarce, Meg says. And we all laugh. Then Levi comes to my defense. I've traveled around the country with Mr. Jones, and I can assure you he's only eaten groupies, and based on the sounds of his bunk, they were not displeased with the situation. He presents this like he was my lawyer who feels it's best to get me off with charges of cannibalism in favor of charges of me being sexist. I don't win any cases, but let me tell you, I make sure my clients get off. Would be how Levi would end his local TV law firm commercial. All right, I get it. You prey on women, then leave town before you're met with the repercussions of your actions. Josephine predictably chimes in, then arrives at the top of the stairs. Aren't you going to greet our guests? Levi asks. I showed her a room, Josephine counters, approaching the table. Right on. We're already helping each other, Levi says, then tosses a beer toward Josephine, and she doesn't even attempt to catch it, so it sails into the living room, then lands with a thud on the carpet. Wow, you two really are on the same page, Meg observes, and Levi tries to play it off. I just, placing some emergency brews around the house. I hide them like Easter eggs. Play your cards right, you might wake up to one morning with a beer under your pillow. Wouldn't be the first time, Meg responds. Josephine sits on the edge of the sofa like she's Izzy, and this makes me duck down to look through the counter gap, but I don't see those long brown stems of my sous chef. I turn around, but Izzy's not leaving the room either. I don't know how she slipped away, or why, or where she went, and I'm about to start my search, but I catch Levi mid-rant, and he diverts my attention. You aren't taking the band's space here. The beds aren't for them. I'm great to work with, and the Lowrys understand the process. The label supports this process. Oh, so the record company owns the house? Josephine asks. Not sure you want to look at it like that, Levi responds, cracking his second beer already. How much does a place like this go for? Meg asks. When neither Levi or I respond, Josephine guesses, probably $500,000. So that's $500K debt that you owe your record company. Meg, no stranger to the music business, reminds Levi. Look at the big brain on Meg, I say, because all of this is getting tangled, and I need to move beyond how we got this house in order to clarify what must be accompanied our now and actually, there's no clear end point to this, so the sun is setting. So I think I'm just going to end it there. If you are interested by this at all, then please get this book. Put it in your Jenga tower of Kindle books because it'll be free, so you're not really spending money. But also, this is the best time to read it because it's the summer, and this book goes from May, which is now, until whenever the summer ends, probably September or October. So follow along, make this book your summer, and then please leave a review because that really helps me out. I'm a YouTuber now. Like and subscribe, and then leave a review. But also do that because generally I never get reviews. So if you could do that, I'll love you forever. That's why I'm giving it to you for free. That's our pact. Or if you paid $3, then I'll buy you 1/3 of a coffee. Okay, all right, this is too long. T. James Reagan, Beach House Burning on Amazon. Go get it. Bye.